When we asked Steve Shaw which story he had done in the past year that he considered most impactful, he did not hesitate to answer. The stunning allegations of physical and mental abuse in the Kingfisher football program. Steve, this too remains an ongoing story.
Rich, for us, this story began last March when Kingfisher School Board rejected a $1.5 million settlement offer from attorney Cameron Spradling. He represents a former Yellow Jacket football player who he says was a frequent target of abuse and much worse. I need to warn you, some of what you're about to see and hear is graphic.
Kingfisher is a town of 5,000, 55 miles northwest of Oklahoma City. The Yellow Jacket football program is one of the more successful Class 3A programs in the Sooner State.
This was one of the most serious trauma victims I've ever met.
Attorney Cameron Spradling has a downtown Oklahoma City law practice. He says last June, a retired FBI agent sent him this alarming photo of a teenage boy with what looks like serious bruises on his back, and photos of a taser, a paint gun, a pellet gun, and a cut-up towel. That FBI agent had been hired by his parents. That photo, Spradling says, was taken when the boy was 14 years old in 2017, when he was a freshman on the Kingfisher High School football team.
His story was so captivating that I just put the notes aside and just listened for, a full hour as he shared the story.
Spradling says the boy, who 4 years later is now a young man, comes from one of the most prominent families in Kingfisher County. They're big donors to the school. Why did the family wait almost 4 years to file this lawsuit? Spradling says they didn't know about it because the young man didn't tell them until he graduated from the school. The lawsuit spells out several allegations. Kingfisher head coach Jeff Myers and 3 assistant coaches are also each being sued. During football practice, certain upperclassmen offending players would frequently hit or attack an unsuspecting and defenseless John Doe number 1, among other victims, between plays. When John Doe number 1 attempted to protest against or complain about the abuses, defendant Myers told John Doe number 1 to shut up. Other players who were subjected to such bullying would have their helmets wetted inside with urine and placed in the freezer, only to discover the disgusting offense when the urine melted down their faces during practice. Remember that cut-up towel? Spradling says the team bullies would roll up that towel and use it as a weapon. John Doe number 1 was most frequently attacked while in the locker room shower, naked and defenseless. John Doe number 1 would be repeatedly whipped in the back, legs, and buttocks. The attack would sometimes only stop when the victim began to bleed. John Doe number 1 says the team bullies also attacked with a paint gun, pellet gun, and a taser as well. Then there's this, and I'm paraphrasing in an effort to make it less sickening to listen to. In 2018, John Doe number 1 was forcibly restrained by at least 2 offending players, while a third offending player sexually assaulted him by placing his naked buttocks on John Doe number 1's nose and the aggressor's genitals on John Doe number 1's face.
This is child abuse. That was child abuse inside that football program. And what is the duty of an educator if they're aware of child abuse?
Report it.
Exactly.
And there's more. According to the lawsuit and attorney Spradling, what you're about to hear are 2 recordings from a Kingfisher football team Snapchat group message directed at John Doe number 1 and one of his friends in September of 2018, which was John Doe number 1's sophomore year.
This is my last warning. Do not show up to practice tomorrow. I'm already gonna you, but if you say anything else, to try to come at me, then I probably will be there. Like, you don't understand how annoying you are and how nobody likes you because you're. After I get done legit kicking your and then taking a big your mouth, I'm gonna go and beat the absolute. Like, he thinks I'm kidding, but I'm gonna beat it. If he tells his mom, I'm gonna go and kill that.
The young man who made those threats against my client and threatened his mother with death is a coach's son.
A different sport.
Of a different sport, but a coach's son.
At the school.
At this very same school. And who is now a college athlete playing ball at a different school.
Spradling says that retired FBI agent's investigation revealed that the worst offender, besides a coaching staff who Spradling says just stood by and let it happen, was another player whose parent at the time was a Kingfisher school district administrator.
The OSBI confirms it has an open investigation into allegations of misconduct inside the Kingfisher football program. The State Department of Education is investigating as well.
Jeff Myers has been Kingfisher's head coach since 2004. He won a state championship in 2013. He's easily the school's all-time winningest football coach. And last year, he was inducted into the Oklahoma Coaches Hall of Fame. Spradling says Myers is also a bully. We reached out to Myers on Tuesday and haven't heard back.
It was his general demeanor that he behaved this way towards everybody.
He's in the Oklahoma Coaches Hall of Fame.
If you do some research on that, you'll probably find out that the head of that Hall of Fame is his own father-in-law. Who protected this person? You know, I have a saying, and that is that every vampire needs a keeper. And I believe that there were keepers for this coach that protected him. There's keepers right there in Kingfisher that are still protecting him.
Tuesday, we spoke with Kingfisher Superintendent Daniel Craig. He politely declined our interview request. So did just about everybody we approached on the streets of this small town. Everybody except Patricia Louthan. She's a Yellow Jacket graduate from a little ways back.
Well, I have an opinion, but I would hate to voice it in this small town. I prefer to just keep track of the story, well, you know, how it goes in the court case, and see what I just think that everything will turn out for what's right. And this town, sometimes it feels like it doesn't have a moral compass, and maybe after this is all over, people will have a moral compass.
Attorney Spradling says he didn't want to offer the district that $1.5 million settlement, which he says would have separated the school district from the 4 coaches being sued.
When they moved this case to federal court, guess what we got? We got a rocket docket here. This case will be to trial within a year. And people are going to be sitting in the courtroom and learning about this football program and what's going on and saying, what the hell is wrong with Kingfisher, Oklahoma?
And Rich, what a better way to delve into such an uncomfortable subject than to talk to a couple of gentlemen who, when it comes to high school football in Oklahoma, have been there and done that.
But we've got problems. We've got real problems.
David Gore spent 38 years as a math teacher, administrator, and athletic director for Norman Public Schools. He also officiated high school football for 35 years. He says about 8 years ago, high school football around the Sooner State began to change in the name of safety.
Targeting, illegal blindside blocks, defenseless players. I'm using terms that 10 years ago didn't exist.
While those are positive changes, Gore says the way coaches coach has changed too, and not necessarily for the better. He says it used to be before games, head coaches would assure him if any of their players got out of line, let the coach know, and he'd fix it.
We're not hearing that very much anymore. That bothers me. I will tell you, I am very concerned in 2022 at how many officials we have lost.
Gore says they're losing officials for football, basketball, and baseball at an alarming rate because they're sick of putting up with coaches, players, and parents who won't follow or respect the rules.
The coach doesn't say to us anymore, let me know and I'll take care of it. If we go have a conversation with a coach now, and please understand, this is not every coach. There are still coaches that take care of the situation, but it is a much bigger problem now with coaches who will say to us when we go have a conversation, Coach, number 75, we need you to take care of 75. He's saying a lot of things that doesn't need to be said. He's doing some things. You just referee the game. I'll take care of my kids if I need to. It's that kind of conversation. Well, these kids, they pick up on that real quick.
Gore has a good idea about where the central problem lies.
And I would suggest that probably we are dealing more than any other thing, lack of discipline. Whether it's the coach, whether it's mom and dad, it's a concern. It is a real concern.
You cannot leave kids unattended.
Gary Rose is a true Oklahoma high school coaching legend. From 1997 to 2001, he won 5 straight state football championships as head coach at Carl Albert in Midwest City. By the time he retired after 43 years in coaching in 2017, he'd won 10 state championships in all.
David Gore he hit it. Lack of discipline. Wherever you can start with the parents, with a principal, a head coach, assistant coaches. If you don't have standards and enforce them fairly and consistently, then you're opening yourself up for problems.
The OSBI and the State Education Department are investigating what some claim had been going on for years inside the Kingfisher Yellow Jackets football program. Head coach Jeff Myers, 3 assistants, and the school district are named in a lawsuit filed by a former player who claims those coaches knew about and even encouraged locker room abuse by upperclassmen bullies on the team. Attorney Cameron Spradling represents the young man who filed what is now a federal lawsuit.
It's a pattern, all right? We have statements from players going back 10 years that said the atmosphere they liken it to Lord of the Flies. That's how we lived in there, all right? Some of those were bullies themselves, that look back, 10 years from now, and now they want to say, I'm so sorry. They want to report that this culture created this situation that happened, and they feel guilty about it. Think about that. It traumatized them as well. A unique thing about this case is I went to ground on this, investigating this. Like, they have a championship basketball team. Is it happening on the basketball team, on the baseball team, on the track team? It only happened in the football program.
The Oklahoma Secondary School Activities Association regulates high school sports around the state. An OSSAA spokesman told me last week they never comment publicly about a specific school.
There are some incredibly talented coaches out there that do things the right way. There are coaches out there that maybe could do things differently if they would choose to.
Rose says the explosion of social media is a strong factor and one reason he retired.
There's too much information, too much false information, and too much, excuse my French again, that goes on social media. I mean, even in my last few years, we got kids yapping and talking trash to the Bombers or to the Eagles or to the guys at El Reno, the guys at Guthrie. That is not productive. And this is another big deal. is that you seniors, the sophomores need you to take care of them. You love your brothers, and we are not going to abuse or belittle or make fun of. And that's when I jump on that like a duck on a June bug. If I find out or hear that, but you're not going to do that. We're family, and so if you have that kind of culture taught, I think that prevents a lot of stuff that's going on.
According to attorney Cameron Spradling, this explosive case is still scheduled to go to court sometime after the first of the year.